There's been no notification to any of the emergency services of any incident involving either damage to property or individuals being injured as a result of this tremor.
And are buildings in Gibraltar being checked now for structural damage as a result of what happened last night? We know, for example, that in Malaga, schools are being checked. Are we doing anything like that over here?
It would be fairly obvious to us, but of course one of the things that happens as a matter of course in such eventualities is that people will see if something has gone wrong in their building and will let us know, and we have no such reports. But let me tell you why I think that is the case. And one of the things that we often see on Spanish television are these corruption problems involving urbanismo, as the issues are called in Spain. Gibraltar has a very strict protocol in relation to building control. Anybody who's either developed something or made some changes to the structure of their own homes knows that you go through two hurdles before you're able to do something which has a structural effect. You need planning permission. That's about how the thing will look and the use of that particular area. And the second is you need consent from building control. Gibraltar has been blessed for many years with people who do their job in building control in a way that they have ensured historically that anything that we put up in Gibraltar is made to the highest engineering standards for just such eventualities. And you and I can wake up in the morning and be told that there was an earthquake. And look, if we had a massive earthquake at the top of the Richter scale, of course there would be issues. But an earthquake of this sort, and know that the criteria applied before something goes up and the checking that happens to ensure it's gone up in the way that it was required to go up is such that there is not likely to be anything which engineering allows us to know should not cause a problem.
So that, of course, would apply to all the buildings that are going up at the moment. We know that in Japan, all construction has extra safety built into it because it's an area that's particularly prone to earthquakes. Can we expect a similar sort of standard in Gibraltar?
Indeed, for example, the government never builds to the standard. The government overbuilds on the building control standard. Most people in Gibraltar do, most developers do. They understand how strictly we look at these things, and the best way to ensure that you have a good relationship with building control and that building control will pass things for you without having to send it back is to ensure that you build beyond the standard required. But look, we have things built in Gibraltar going back many centuries, which is what our heritage is all about. And some of those things might have been subject to the higher standards perhaps, but some time ago. And those might be problematic. But we've got fairly solid city walls that are put up with Richter scale events of this sort in the past, and I don't anticipate we should have any difficulty whatsoever.
Well, we know that this particular earthquake last night was 6 point something on the Richter scale, 6.1, 6.3. You mentioned the possibility that is always there, of course, of a major earthquake striking. If that were to happen, how is Gibraltar prepared to cope with that?
Well, the way that things would work in relation to an earthquake, in relation to any other event which created a serious problem in Gibraltar, the crash of an aircraft, for example, is that these would be declared major incidents. The minute something happened which started to have an effect, which was affecting property or was affecting life, we would declare a major incident. And we constantly review in the Civil Contingencies Committee, in the 3 Cs, work that is being done all the time, not just in these eventualities, what the major incident declaration would mean. Each year there is a review of the major incident plan. The 2016 plan is almost ready. With that declaration of major incident, we would start the work of ensuring that everybody was as safe as we could possibly make them, and that those who were injured were taken to have the treatment that they needed. That is a work that is in hand all the time, and you don't need to concern yourself about there not being a plan in place in the event of an earthquake, a tsunami, the crashing of an aircraft, any of the eventualities. We might not even be able to imagine some of the eventualities that would require us to act immediately as a government.
And does the plan also include advice for ordinary citizens, what they should do in the event of an earthquake?
Yes, and in a way that is dynamic, for example, so that the advice would be related to that incident. It would be broadcast, for example, through GBC, but not just that. We would also be looking at telling people on social media very quickly, through all the instruments available to the government, to disseminate a message quickly what people need to be doing. Today, people turn to non-traditional media, to social media, as quickly as they turn to traditional media. If everything were down, if we lost internet, etc., social media might not be so useful. If there was no 3G or soon 4G coverage, if there was no Wi-Fi, you might not be able to discern from social media what would happen. Then we would fall back on traditional media. Broadcasting, and radio broadcasting in particular, is, although one of the oldest mechanisms of media, one of the most resilient mechanisms of media. People might then instinctively go for their transistors, if anybody still has one of those, and doesn't listen to the radio digitally, as most people do today, and try and work out what to do from listening to the media, which is where we would be putting our messages out.